Hello, everyone. Once again, welcome to the Blessings channel. My name is Asti Chandrakar. I am tuning in from Atlanta. I am a volunteer teacher with the Art of Living Foundation. And today it's my honor and privilege to bring to you Usha Sapuramji and Raghu Sapuramji from Austin, Texas. Usha ji has been with the Art of Living Foundation for over 25 years now, practicing breathwork and meditation, and also teaching the program for over 15 years. She has been very passionate about her service activities, mentoring folks. She has actually been mentoring a lot of volunteers and teachers for the foundation, and then also extending her services to other facets of services. Bringing full potentials of people is one of her favorite work to do. For the last 5 years, very specifically, Ushaji has also been traveling in the US, Canada, and India, several cities, and sharing something very beautiful called Srimad Bhagavatam stories, one of the most prolific Puranas in the Vedic system. Ushaji has been a very avid storyteller. I have personally been in many of her Srimad Bhagavatam sessions, and I know how prolific, vivid storyteller she is. And, anyone attends the session comes back with this deep sense of bhakti and devotion in them. So very, very grateful to have her time and to have her on the forum today.
Thank you, Asti. Thank you for extending this beautiful invitation to me, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Shari. Thanks so much. And on the other side, we have Raghunath Sapuramji. He has been with the foundation for 25 years as well. And then unlike Ushaji, his background is similar yet different to Ushaji, right? He has been leading the TLEX USA. He has been a CEO of TLEX USA for several years. He has been teaching for the foundation very many advanced programs for the foundation for more than 15 years. He has been a mentor, a guide to a lot of us in the foundation, and such a serene and beautiful and centered personality that all of us look up to for having guidance, whether in our professional life or in the spiritual life, or putting all of them together. So I have been personally been very touched with Raghuji's approach to bringing art of living practices in our life, a true leader, warrior, I have to call it. And I can't begin to speak all the great things about him. So what we would do now is we will jump straight into our conversation, and I will have him speak of his experience from the foundation and his technology leadership in the industry, and how he has taken the industry to the foundation, how he has brought industry to foundation, has taken foundation to the industry. So a lot of wonderful stories to be heard from both Usha ji and Raghu ji today. So once again, welcome, and thank you very much for sparing this afternoon and to talk with us today.
Pleasure to be here, Asti. And it's amazing. Your beautiful smile and joyous space is a beautiful space for us to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghuji. Thanks again. All right, so we will now dive straight into my very first question, and also my favorite questions. What does blessing mean to both of you, to you, Ushaji, maybe first, and then to you, Raghuji? And many people ask me, does that really work? So let's hear from you.
Actually, I would say it's kind of hard to define what a blessing is, because it's something so deep and vast and coming from the infinite itself. And um, everything is a blessing. Right from the time you wake up, able to get up in the morning, start, doing your chores, being able to move around, listen, every function of yours itself is a blessing which we take for granted. We recognize a blessing more when it comes from a place of a surrender, when all our little small efforts are in vain, and what we are seeking falls on our lap. Then we say, wow, what a blessing, what a miracle, right? So that is when we recognize a blessing. So I was thinking a lot deeper into this beautiful question and thinking that even our own suffering, what we resist, also is in a kind blessing, right? Because something, like Gurudev says, that small-mindedness, that limited, and that ego within us is getting crushed when we go through a suffering. And then what happens after that is, we come out of it much stronger, much better person. That is also a blessing. So I can keep talking about blessings. And another beautiful thing is having the birth of a human being itself is a blessing. Because they say that in Sanskrit, Jatunam Narajanma Durlabham, meaning out of the so many lakhs of species in this world, our human birth is the highest of the divine's creation. So that is the biggest blessing one can receive. Because we are the creatures which can merge with the divine.
Wow, so beautifully shared, Ushaji.
Yeah, so I would resonate a lot with what Usha just shared. I would say, like she was sharing, everything is a blessing, right? What we have is a blessing, and what we don't have is also a blessing. We may not see it that way, right? It can help drive us towards achieving higher things. It can teach us humility and compassion for others. So there's so many aspects of this approach of viewing everything in life as a blessing, right? It transforms our life. In Art of Living, Gurudev has created this beautiful blessings program, right? And I had the good fortune, and so did Usha, to participate in that program, and we become blessers. So the beauty in that is when someone is in need, or they feel like the mind is churning, or whatever it is going on in their lives, they can reach out to a blesser, and we are trained, guided by Gurudev in such a way that we can go in touch in that space of not wanting anything, right? Being in contentment, being in fulfillment, being in gratitude, and just offering a silent prayer, if you will, a silent blessing to however it is good for that person for it to materialize. And maybe later today we can share about some fascinating stories around that. But that's what I would share, what a blessing is.
So beautiful. Can't wait to hear those stories, Raghuji. But I love the way both of you summed it up. What we have is a blessing. What we do not have is a blessing. The suffering is a blessing. The whole having a human birth, a human life is a blessing. That kind of sums it all for me. What is not a blessing then, right? Wow, so beautiful. Yeah. Oh my God, it's already getting so exciting. So both of you have been teaching so many lovely programs with the foundation, including the very advanced programs as well. Would love to hear from each one of you, how your journey as a teacher for Art of Living program has unfolded, and what's been the most beautiful aspect of teaching these programs, from your perspective.
Okay. I think that again is a blessing, becoming an instrument of Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar, to be able to share that precious knowledge to so many people over the years. And it also gives us that responsibility of being wanting to and to live in that, live the knowledge, right? When you're sharing that knowledge, you can't just be preaching it. We need to live it ourselves. That is one of the main reasons I went ahead and became a teacher, I would say. And the programs he has given us are plenitude, and each one is so unique, yet it is same. At the deeper level, it's the same. It gets you from the head to the heart. So the primary program, which is the basic course, or it's morphed into many names over the years, the happiness program, whatever you want to call it. Now I think it's the basic course. It's like many times we have witnessed people come with a lot of stress when they come to the course, and then by the end of the session, by the end of the first day, they've done the sky practice, the Sudarshan Kriya, and from that chattering, conflicted mind, um, and full of stress, they experience the tranquility. They get to know that, oh, my mind can be so quiet. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. They get such a glimpse of it, which is their own deeper self. So their thirst and hunger for more of this starts. It begins. So then I've seen that when they get into the Sahaj course, which is the meditation course, Sahaj means simple yet profound. Just uh, the not even the chant, but just invoking that mantra within, which is just a syllable, right? Two syllables, and then that how it transforms them and goes deeper to a place where even those impressions which have been coming from their past or troubling them in the present now, like anger, it could be jealousy, it could be hatred, whatever it is, those impressions which have a hold on you start loosening up, and now they're even more freer. You can see that freedom, which not only it translates that freedom, and that joy translates into the day-to-day activities as well. Not only when you sit for the 20 minutes of meditation, but they see the effect of it throughout their lives, their relationships, their interactions with others. So that is one beauty I've seen over the years. And then we also, this is my favorite, the Prison Smart program, which we've been teaching, right, in Austin. I was actually skeptical when I first went into a prison. I mean, it's something maximum security prison, and the iron doors are opening and closing behind you of several of them, and then you feel like, oh my God, what did I get into? But then you have this faith that yes, everything is going to be well. That you're here for a reason. And then when you go there, then Gurudev's beautiful message, came to my mind. He says that every criminal is a victim who's crying for help. So all that anxiety dropped when I saw them first walk into that small room, this maximum security prison. So, we don't know what the felonies they did, but then you know that they're pretty large, and they come with a smile. They come with a sense of surrender. I know I've done these things in the past for different reasons, but here I am ready to learn, ready to transform myself, and it was just absolutely beautiful. I felt I learned more from them. Right. So that was one beautiful thing. And I can talk more on that, but maybe later. And another course which really blew my mind was the Sri Sri Yoga. Uh, all all along, I thought yoga was about asanas, the flexing your muscles, or holding postures and everything. But how the true definition of yoga being the union of body, mind, and soul, how you experience that through those yoga practices, the asanas, was a mind-blowing thing. Again, like everything is Gurudev's courses, each one is a blessing where you're getting from your head to the heart. That is the final journey, final destination. And the last thing I want to talk to before I hand it to Raghu is like the Bhagavad Gita. It's something phenomenal. I feel like it was, again, a feather on the cap. It's like a bouquet of blessings which we've been receiving from last 25 years, and this one is like that peacock feather which sits in the bouquet of flowers, with its multitude of colors. And this is something which I never expected in my life to happen. I would be in awe of people doing this. And secretly in my heart, I would think maybe perhaps next lifetime, I would want to do this. And little did I know that, of course, Gurudev was hearing that secretly. And he said, why next lifetime? Do it now. So that was, I'll talk a little more on that later. But yes, this is my experience teaching the various courses of Gurudev.
Thank you so much, Usha ji. Thank you for mentioning about both the Shisha Yoga program, Bhagavatam. You know, we can possibly never hear enough from you. We know how passionate you are for Bhagavatam Katha. But thank you for also bringing and speaking about the prison smart program. How long have you been teaching that program? And I understand it's a program we teach to prisoners in the jails, right? In the prisons. Okay, how long have you been teaching that?
At least 8 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming several of those programs in several different prisons in across Austin and Texas.
Mostly it's one prison which we have gone to,
Gotcha.
and that is quite a big one and hosts a lot of maximum median security prisoners. And the transformation we have seen in them after the Kriya program, the Sudarshan Kriya, it's like it's such the what do you call they're all like big built and kind of like tattooed and things like that. And first look at them, you kind of feel a little overwhelmed, but then the way they soften up after the Kriya, they cry, they write poems of gratitude. It's just unforgettable. Yeah.
Thank you, Usha. You will definitely hear more on that. But yes, Raghuji, would like to hear from you about your experiences of teaching these programs.
Yeah, before I start my experience of teaching the program, I want to share that I was a shy little kid, and I would not step out in front of people or in public, and I would always remain in shadows. And I was excellent at my work and studies, but never took on leadership and took on new things, right? And I want to say that this journey for me in Art of Living has been a completely transformative kind of journey from who I thought I was to who I am today, right? And my teaching journey kind of reflects that as well. Two things happened in 2000 for me. 2000 was the year when 2001 was the year I did my first Art of Living course, the Sudarshan Kriya course. And I thought I didn't need it. And I'm this calm, collected person that I don't need this course. Others may need it. I'm not stressed. But little did I know that it would make such a big impact in my life. And I started helping out on programs, and it was so beautiful to watch the change in people as they do the program, right? Like Usha was mentioning, going into that space of tranquility and smiles on the face and walking out in a completely different state of mind. So I started helping other teachers rolling up the yoga mats and putting out the table, cleaning up the place and things like that, and then slowly assisting on the courses. And then both Usha and I decided to take the next step as teachers. So we went for the teacher training program. Again, I could be here for hours talking about the stories in those programs. And what shifted for me, right? So I saw myself as a person who can take the lead, take roles of leading from the front, being up front, and helping from that space. Why am I holding myself back was the question I had in my mind. So we started with the Sudarshan Kriya course, Art of Living, Part 1 Basic Course, Happiness Program, different names. And I loved it. I felt like, my purpose of why I'm here on this planet, that is a question which always bothered me, intrigued me, was kind of fulfilled for a period of time, just teaching these programs and seeing what happened. I remember one program where we taught parents of autistic kids, and we were talking about acceptance, right? Accepting situations. And one of the parents got up and asked me this question: how do I accept it when my child is autistic and I can't even let them play in the playground? And blew me away. I mean, this relevance of this knowledge of the understanding is so precious, right? It's not something theoretical, it is something very practical, something that applies to our day-to-day lives, right? Each of our lives. And when questions like that come up in these programs, it opens up new vistas of compassion and understanding for everyone in the group, including me as a teacher. So I learn as I go along, right? So that was a very powerful journey for me. And then I decided to become a Sahat Samadhi, the effortless meditation teacher. So I went and did that program. I did that in Bangalore. I just wanted to experience a different setting. So it was so precious meeting people from different parts of the world, from China, from the Middle East, from India, from Malaysia, from US, from Canada, come to one place and learn how to teach meditation all together and exchange ideas. So it was a very beautiful experience for me. And I love the Sahat Samadhi course. It is so simple. Like the name suggests, it is simple and effortless. The meditation is effortless and the program itself is effortless. It's so serene and calm and quiet. It's kind of like a journey into consciousness, right? Going deeper and deeper into consciousness, understanding of it, both experientially and from a mental understanding perspective, right? So for me, well-being is one aspect and art of living, but diving deeper into consciousness, into who am I, the spiritual inquiry is another aspect, right? So the two programs address both aspects for me and for everyone else. And then we ventured into the Prison Smart program. Usha spoke so eloquently about it. And I remember this one time, I'll just share this one quick story, which encompasses my whole journey with the prison programs. There was this one program where we had about 12 participants in a small room. And I was there, and I think Usha was there in that program. I'm not sure who my co-teacher was. So 2 people, no security, nothing. There's a glass door. So all we know is that a guard is sitting out there. So if anything happens, they'll watch, right? And we were teaching the course. And I was leading the Sudarshan Kriya, the breath work. And one person was particularly crying and having tears and having a very raw, fascinating experience. Many people have different experiences in the program, but this was something very deep. So at the end of the breathwork, he was sharing, my wife and my son were sitting next to me on either side and telling me they're in a good place, they're doing fine, and they want me to move on and lead a happy and good life. The choice of words was so powerful for me, and he shared how both of them had been killed a couple of years back or something, and led to a lot of trauma for him and led to a history of crime and things he was struggling with. And this person attended subsequent programs, many of the programs, and he was encouraging other prison inmates to come and join the program. And he was such a champion for this. And I'm sure as he went out, he was a transformed man, right? So those were some experiences and stories for me, made it all the more worthwhile, right? My own life became more purposeful. And interestingly, I wanted to move away from the corporate world. I was a startup person, entrepreneur, co-founder. My last company got acquired by IBM. I served as an executive, a distinguished engineer at IBM. But all that was, great accomplishments and good life. At the same time, it didn't give me the kind of fulfillment I was seeking. So I decided to step away from the corporate world of IT and technology strategy and all of this. And the opportunity came to lead TLEX, which is a corporate programs from an art of living perspective. So we are separate from art of living. It's a separate company, but we focus mainly on the corporate world. And then the opportunity came up. I was in a dilemma. Here I am trying to step away from the corporate world, wanting to do more work around the prisons and people in need, people in trauma, disasters and so on. And this opportunity came up. The first time I went and led a program, I realized people in need are everywhere. Not just need in terms of stress and burnout, because that is pretty prevalent, but also in the corporate world, there are new issues, new skills needed. The pace of change is so rapid, and we can talk a little bit more later, but it was a combination of well-being and stress and burnout management, at the same time opening up our mind to new skills, new capabilities, all the things I was personally experiencing in my art of living journey. So this transformational leadership was a beautiful principle, and I was able to take that into the corporate world. So So that's my current on an endeavor as a CEO of TLEX. While I continue teaching my Art of Living courses, I love them and I continue to teach them.
No, thank you so much, Raghuji, for sharing that, because that was definitely one of the questions on my deck, to hear about your journey from corporates to Art of Living, and then how you have so beautifully intertwined the two worlds, right? You have not only brought, taken Art of Living to the corporate world, but you have also brought the corporate thinking and strategic thinking into the Art of Living Foundation. So that's so lovely to hear from you on that. I would also love to hear from both of you about, your favorite blessings story so far from any of your programs or any of your experiences in Art of Living.
So I'll tell you, I guess the oldest one and the newest one. In between, there have been a ton of blessings, of course. The oldest one would be how I stumbled into Art of Living. Actually, there are two parts to it. The first part is when I thought this is for old people, courses like meditation and things like that, and kept deleting the email about Art of Living until I went through a bout of depression because of stress. And this was in 1998, I guess. Yeah. And I was determined to go off meds, because meds is not something which you can take for life to keep yourself happy. And then I recognized, oh, okay, this might be a solution. Let me try the course. And once I did the Kriya, there was such a vast difference. It was like, I know it's a phrase commonly heard, but it was day and night difference. So it was a totally new me. That same thing which I mentioned earlier, the stress being thrown out and the mind being tranquil, I experienced for the first time, and I caught hold of that and did my practices, and that was the first biggest blessing I recognized in my life. And the suffering which I felt earlier because of this person and that person, all that vanished and became gratitude to that person, whoever I was initially thinking that because of them I was in a mess. So that was one thing. And then in 2004, of course, I got over the medication within 6 months of doing my practices. And so I always almost tell this life story of mine to my participants. So if anybody has this issue of depression, they would come to me, and we'll discuss more on how to be able to go past it. The other thing came when in 2004, I was told by the doctors that I had a tumor on my pancreas, and which is supposed to be one of um, the deadliest of cancers, I heard. And my children were quite small at that time. They were less than 10 years old, I guess. And we knew into Art of Living, and I sent an email to Gurudev requesting blessings and please take care of this. And so when I went for my endoscopy, which was a month later after the diagnosis of the tumor, and they needed to check through an endoscope. That is when the previous night Gurudev comes in my dream, and I instantly knew that that was his way of blessing me, that all things will be fine. And so the next day I walk in with big smiles into the center for the endoscopy. And Raghu was wondering, "Oh, all these days she was she was worrying about it. She's so fine now." And lo and behold, the doctor said that we don't see anything. They double checked and said, there's nothing. There's no tumor. So that was a big blessing. And the latest I saw, over the years, I've seen blessings in my life as well as many, many people around me, and definitely the participants. And the latest is when Gurudev's secretary Karthik ji from India was touring US, and he did a course in Austin, and this a lady who I've been talking to for several years, and she's a single mom, has a lot of problems and dealing with her adult son who's into, drugs, etc. And she's done the course but has not been stable in the practice. And even till the date she started the course, she was still in such a negative space. And oh my God, after the course was over, um, and such a beautiful gesture came forth from Karthik ji himself, who heard about her and the suffering she was going through. And he said, "You personally write a note to me of what is it you're seeking in your life? What are your problems? And I will hand it over to Gurudev myself." And I don't know, that was such a big transformation in her. I saw her a few days after the course was over, and she was like as if a big luggage, a big load of her was dropped down. Could see that smile on her face, that confidence back, that joy for the problem still remained the same, but it no longer seemed to exist in her mind. I felt that was such a blessing. Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Ushaji, for sharing that. Raghuji, can we hear some of your favorite blessing stories?
Yeah, there are many, many blessing stories, Asti. So, couple of stories come to mind. One which was very close, very personal, very dear story. And the other one is a simple, light story, and it shows the power of blessings even in day-to-day simple things, right? So I'll start with the second one first. So very recently, we were doing a webinar, an online virtual webinar from TLX, and this was the first one we were doing. So we were a little, I won't say concerned, but wanted to make sure everything was perfect and everything went well. And one of the panelists, their video did not work for some reason. We would see the video, but we wouldn't see the person, and she couldn't figure out why it was happening. And another person started having coughing fits, kind of thing. So he's a great speaker, so we didn't want that to ruin. So one of my colleagues sent me an email or sent me a message saying, Raghu, can you send a silent blessing to the two participants? And I said, yeah, sure. And I closed my eyes and sent a silent blessing. And within a few moments, it was almost magical. The video started working and the coughing stopped for that person. I know it could be coincidence, we could call it a coincidence or whatever, but I believe in something higher. And too many such things have happened in my life for them to be coincidences, right? And then the webinar went flawlessly. And the first story I want to share is that very personal. My own dad, who passed away a few years back with colon cancer. He was in advanced stages, and he was in Malaysia at that time, and this was back in 1997 or so. Maybe closer to 2000. No, sorry, 2007, 2008 time frame, when Usha and I were doing a teacher training program. I got a call from my brother who lives in Malaysia. My father and mother were in Malaysia at that time visiting, or rather staying with him. And so I was responding back to the call when I got a break from my training session, and asked him what's up. And he said, he was very excited, and he said, you know what? Gurudev just spoke to dad and mom on the phone. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I never asked for anything, and how could he? And so there's a long story, like how the connection happened. But he was on the phone with my mom and dad and told my dad not to be afraid, just to be brave in Telugu. And my dad was sharing with me that he felt his entire life has been fulfilled. He had that feeling of gratitude in his heart. And within a few months, my dad called me and said, Raghu, can you come to Malaysia and work from here for five weeks? And he gave me a period of time. And my dad has never asked me to come and be away from my family and my work. He always blessed me to do well in wherever I am, right? So I knew, I spoke to Usha and we said, okay, you need to go. And so I went there. He came out of the house, received me, and within 5 weeks, his body degenerated, his mind degenerated. And in the last 1 week or so, he went into hospice care. And within very short period, with very little suffering, and surrounded by grace, surrounded by love, surrounded by devotion, and with knowledge, he passed away, right? He moved on. And the whole thing was such a revelation for me that we are so focused on the outcome, we think this outcome is a blessing and this outcome is a curse. Whereas what I realized is that the journey, the outcome is not so important. It's the journey and what happens in our own minds, which is far more important. So the blessing we received was the whole family was shrouded in grace and love and being together. One of my biggest fears was that I wouldn't be there for my parents because being so far away in US. And I was able to spend so much time with them. So, this it was such a blessing for me and for my whole family. We bonded together, we worked together. I felt I had served my parents in their days of need, and also I felt that because of where I am and my meditation, my practices, and that his journey became very smooth at the end. There are so many more stories, like, when we share about how it helped others that we have taught, right? If I take a moment, I'll share one such story. Again, it brings out how the outcome is not that relevant. There are two couples that Usha and I know who are going through severe marriage issues, like issues with each other, relationship issues, and they had children. And with the art of living practices, with the impact that art of living has had, Gurudev has had, and our blessings, and so many things, they both are still happily married. They were able to resolve the differences and be there for the children. On the flip side, we also have other people in art of living who were going through struggling marriages, and the women in those marriages got the strength, got the confidence, got the ability to make their own decisions through these practices, and they went through amicable kind of divorce and moved on to bigger, better, greater things in life. So again, it taught me that a particular outcome is not what the blessing is about. It's about our own state of mind and achieving something even more successful, more happy, more blossoming that happens in life than even the outcome that we think is what we want at that moment in time.
So beautifully put, Raghuji. I wouldn't have imagined it to be put, any better. And thank you so much for sharing the loving and very heartwarming story of your late father. We know his soul is resting in peace, but so beautiful. And thank you for bringing his and sharing his memories on this forum. Wow. Maybe just to steer this conversation on a lighter side, maybe Usha, I'll turn the wheel to you. We know that you have been a very prolific Srimad Bhagavatam storyteller. So would you like to share with us, how the experience of blessing, the grace, the beauty, the love flows through those sessions? I don't think anyone else can, speak of it better than you, because you have been on that seat time and again, and I have been on the audience side. So please share with us.
My experience of Bhagavatam and also the participants' experience has been a journey of, purification. It's a 5-day program. So initially it starts with, the purification of the mind with its various wings of what we call Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya, which is, filled with sometimes jealousy, greed, anger, and so forth. how these divine stories, though they are stories, they are a blessing in disguise. There is so much wisdom embedded in it, and then it cleanses of as you're listening, the speaker and the listener gets cleansed of all those impressions, the baggage which is carried, and you can see the transformation from the day they come into the second. By the end of the second day, there's already a sense of lightness, a glow, of freedom. I know you're nodding your head because you've been listening to this many a time. And then by the third day, that is when the avatar, Krishna avatar, is primarily talked about in Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna is nothing but another name for that infinite and divine energy that comes forth within all of us, from within, and there is dance and celebration and smiles, and it feels like a summum bonus of all, for all the courses which Gurudev has uh, designed for us, a mix of the basic course, the sahaj, the silence, the yagnas which he does, the various pujas, and the chants in the Navratri Puja and the Shivratri. It feels like all that comes to fruition during the Bhagavad Gita. And people's experiences are something. I've heard the story before. I've heard the story of Prahlada or Dhruva or Gajendra, but the meaning behind it is what brings forth the beauty of the stories, and that I definitely feel it's a blessing from Gurudev to the listeners. And um, yeah, and one of the latest sharing in Toronto was one of the organizers was sharing, my God, I've now fallen in love with Krishna. So that was such a beauty. She kept repeating again and again. She couldn't stop herself. So that was very, very, I think, yeah, right now, yeah, that's what I can share about Bhagavad Gita. I'm sure there's a lot more too, but I'll let Raghu also share.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Ushaji. And I know Raghuji has been supporting, those Srimad Bhagavatam sessions from the front and from the back end, from the IT perspective and all of that. So, and thank you for onboarding me on the team at one point in time. So I am also a very proud member of the Srimad Bhagavatam team now. Um,
And one thing I wanted to add, Asti, is, yeah, when you brought it out, is in everything I do, I'm not an IT person, but I knew I was seeking something, but I didn't know what that something was. But every time I would dab into whether it was interior decorating, in the physical realm, where I would want to decorate homes and things like that. He would support, Raghu would always support me in that too. And then little did I realize that Gurudev wanted me to take up another interior decoration of a different kind, which is, he calls even this transformation from within as interior decoration. So I did my course and TTC, and that also Raghu would support. And of course, with the Bhagavatam, several times he would listen to me tell the stories, as a form of practice, and he has been a pillar of support for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I can't begin to tell how much we enjoy when he brings those, very vivid, beautiful, moving, animated pictures in the background when Ushaji is sharing certain stories and Srimad Bhagavatam Katha on the screen, on the background, the pictures start popping up. And then many of our audience have always written to me about that. That was the most beautiful piece. We enjoyed because then we could connect with the story. There was a visual behind, and there was already this animation of Ushaji's eyes and in her voice. And then we also saw the visual behind. So, thank you for creating all of that wonderful theater-like experience for us in every Bhagavatam, whether online or in person. So, Raghuji, thank you for that. um, We would love to hear from you. Yeah, maybe, from your experience of supporting the Bhagavatam Katha and also the TLEX program, one of my favorite ones that I am now growing into, the Transformational Leadership Program for the corporate world. Would you please share, some of the blessings, stories from that program and how that program is very much needed in today's world?
Sure, Asti, will do. So first on the Bhagavatam, I was a guy, and Usha can vouch for this, very much in my head, right? Intellectual, I wanted everything to be understood logically and put together and structured and all of that fun stuff. And over time doing the Art of Living programs, I remember one program in Silence program I was attending where I remembered clearly thinking that my own mind, my own intellect is kind of being an obstruction to me in making progress going inward, going deeper within. And that journey, I think, of understanding blossomed with helping Usha do the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because there, I would have to use my skills of structuring things and intellectually organizing things and my IT skills and all that. But at the same time, I had to look at it with the heart of a devotee, with the eyes of a devotee, right? And what would work, what would not work. And eyes of a devotee may seem a little putting off, but really it's those are eyes of wonder, eyes of looking at the beauty in everything, looking at the possibilities in everything, right? Looking at the infinite as an exploration, not as a structured, logical organization, right? So it helped me look at life that way. So I had great joy in supporting and learned a lot in that process, sitting not as a spouse, not as a husband, but as another devotee, just watching and enjoying and just being in that space of pure experience. So that's what I would say about the Srimad Bhagavatam. And on TLEX, it's a completely different animal, right? Completely different beast. I'm in the corporate world. It's a business to business model. So we are working with the HR department or working with line of business managers, an organizational lead or a employee resource group, an ERG group, and structuring programs for them. And the programs vary because the audience varies, right? There could be short duration programs, there could be long duration programs. We have the beautiful Sky Sudarshan Kriya as a Sky Immersion Retreat in TLEX. That's my favorite program, and that's our highest, most popular program, if you will. And what we've discovered is that with Sudarshan Kriya, with Sky Breath Meditation, and some of the processes that we brought together, this concept of self-mastery, ability to manage our own mind and emotions, right? The ability to not be caught up in our emotions, not be caught up in our tendencies, the ones that Usha talked about, like greed and jealousy and the competition, intense competition at workplace, but transcend them and be a master of our own mind and execute from that space. This concept of team connection, so we call it self-mastery and then social mastery, mastering the ability to bring many people together, lead with them, lead for them, and accomplish even bigger things than you can do as an individual. So this concept of connection and then concept of commitment and taking on greater responsibility, not just executing to our individual role, but expanding beyond and taking great responsibility in delivering larger impactful things, not just at workplace, but in the community, in the society, and even at home. So being able to expand this person's abilities was a very intriguing and very beautiful aspect of the TLEX programs. So it's kind of, I call it the intersection of well-being and leadership development, well-being and expansion of capabilities. And if you notice today, I believe programs like TLEX are a great blessing in today's environment. The pace of change is an all-time high. By the time we look at what is the latest technology and we go to sleep and come back the next morning, there's something else. One of the AI entrepreneurs was telling me that they build a product, and by the time they mature the product, they build a product in less than a week's time nowadays. By the time they mature, it takes another few days. by that time, somebody else has invented the same product and a better one. So the rapid pace at which things are changing and evolving, both not just in technology, but in the client requirements, client demands, organizational demands, geopolitics, the global economics of how things are shaping up and how things are changing. The civic infrastructure, the civic structure fabric is shifting. What we used to take for granted and how we work with people is fundamentally changing. How we refer to people is changing, right? So there's so much of change, and all this becomes a mental pressure. It takes up space in our mind. Instead of focusing on what I need to get done, I need to focus on all these other things which are equally important to as what I need to get done. You see my point? So what's happening is not just the leaders. Leaders are in a high degree of change and stress and constant innovation, constant creativity, and new ways of leading. But even the employees, the individual contributors are also in that same world. So in this world, in this new world, just having the academic skills, knowing how best to program or how well I can drive economic policy or these kind of things, the PhDs and masters are all table stakes, right? These are minimum skills required. But what is required in the world of AI to compete and is to be completely present, be so totally alert, be so totally innovative and creative, to keep coming up with new ideas and solutions. The new skills of leadership, the cognitive adaptability, these kind of things become key skills. So I'm blessed that I can bring my corporate experience, building teams and working with teams and startups as well as large companies like IBM, and my breathwork and meditation experience together in this world. So I'm looking forward to being of some value in this new role of mine. I've been in this role for about 3 years and looking forward to greater expansion.
Thank you, Raghuji. And who else, better than you can do that work, I have to say. And thank you so much for unpacking that entire TLX program for us on this forum, because I am into IT as well, and I have always been in that dilemma, that dissonance, right? That my inner being self is very different than how I am expected to present myself in a corporate setup, right? So when in my B school, I literally called it an inner dissonance, right? And I went to my professor of corporate ethics and asking him that, Professor, can you please help me resolve or dissolve this inner dissonance, right? So
I want to share one quick story from my Telex world. You had asked for some stories there. In one of the programs, I had a VP of an organization, IT organization, and a bunch of his employees, all the way down to the newest employee in one program. And towards the end of the program, that VP was sharing in the open group, he was sharing that he never realized that some of the newer employees had certain leadership skills, and he was able to spot that during the session and some of the processes that we did. So he was very grateful that he's identified new leaders, and he was desperately looking for those next set of leads who can take the organization to greater levels. So, and also it's so beautiful, it's so touching in the corporate world for, in a training room, in the middle of the company, in a conference room, we have chairs and seating and things like that, people do the program, and then after they do the Sudarshan Kriya, they all roll out the yoga mats and they lie down and take deep rest. So it's very hilarious in a way to see that people are sleeping, quote unquote, in the corporation, in the company, in the middle of the day, and getting such deep rest and meditative state. So a lot of fascinating stories are there in the TLX world as well.
It's amazing, equality, deep rest, restoration, well-being, going to next level in the corporate world, right? So thank you, Raghuji, for sharing all that. And this is one of the reasons why I said in the beginning that both of you do the same work, taking people from head to heart, but in different ways, and yet in a very different way. So thank you for bringing all of those wonderful stories. Maybe we'll take, our conversation towards the conclusion, but I would love to, hear from both of you. Maybe your favorite stories so far from all these years of teaching, being there in the experience, and also in today's very challenging world. Name a challenge and as a community, as a nation together, and various nations together, we are facing that problem, right? So how do you see blessings being a very important and powerful, call it tool or technique or phenomena in this challenging world that can help people all around the world? Usha ji, maybe. Yeah.
Um, I think from what Raghu was sharing, being in the present is, I think, the most important thing, because that is where our potential is unlimited. The minute our mind is stuck in the past or in the future, then it's like we are in a box. We are limiting ourselves. We are stuck with our emotions, and that doesn't help us move forward. So how do you get to this present moment? I know it is beautiful. We talk about it. There's so many, uh, uh, TED Talks and people talking on this subject on YouTube and Instagram and so forth. But somebody learning how to be in the present with who's a master of this, always in the present, unlimited are his ways of blessings to the, not just to the Art of Living community, but to the entire world at large. Learning this technique of whether it's meditation or the breathing, Sudarshan Kriya, from someone like that it's itself a blessing. They say that, like I mentioned earlier, that having a human birth is itself a blessing out of all the 84 lakh species in this world. Um, because we have that ability to discriminate, to that a sharp intellect to know the unknown, right? And that search, like Raghu was saying, that what is my purpose of life? Who am I? All those profound questions. Only human beings can uh, uh, receive those kind of questions from their intellect. And so the other blessing is to be on the spiritual path. We can all lead a mundane life, go with the flow, your yo-yo of joy and suffering, but sometimes being happy, sometimes being sad, and just moving on with life in such a fashion. Or do we want to know what is beyond this yo-yo, which is that feeling of equanimity, no matter what is happening in our life? How do we come back to that center again and again? Being aware of this mind going, reaching out to its various fantasies or fancies, and of course the negative emotions. That doesn't lead us to nowhere. It's so temporary, right? So is there something which is stable, which is beyond this mental agony, where I can just remain a witness? How do you get there? Do you read a book and you get there? No, it's just for a few minutes. Yes, maybe you can feel the peace. So being on the spiritual path is the second blessing. A human being and then being on the path and having an enlightened master as your guru is the best. So once you have all these three, this is the biggest gift anybody can ever ask for. None of the gifts outside in this world, including AI, sorry to say that, but will ever get you. And Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar so beautifully puts it as, not just artificial intelligence, but what is it? What does he say?
Absolute intelligence.
Absolute intelligence, which is the highest. From there, anything, that abundance, anything can happen. And
Absolutely.
always wishing for the highest, not just our own selfish needs to fructify, to happen, but always wishing for loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. This is something which I really, really learned from Gurudev.
Beautiful. Absolutely intelligently put. Usha ji, thank you so much for that. Raghu ji, would you like to share?
Yeah, and if you look at today's world, right, Asti? It's you can see it in one of two ways. In fact, any of our lives, we can tell our story in one of two ways. We can tell the story as a life of challenge, ups and downs, and trauma and difficulties and things that we have to work through, obstacles, or we can tell it as a life of opportunities, talents, gifts, and accomplishments, and success, and some failures, smiles, and a richness and a tapestry, right? It's a beautiful story. The world today is in the same place. It's always been in this place. World full of strife, lot of violence, lot of grief, lot of disasters, lot of trauma, right? Last few years especially has been diseases and epidemics and pandemics and you name it. I mean, social upheaval like we talked about earlier. And at the same time, there is so much of compassion, so much of charitable work going on, so many nonprofits who are doing some amazing work, so much spiritual awakening, heightened consciousness. So many more people are looking at a balance between the inner growth and these outer accomplishments, right? Social recognition of well-being and balance is very high in the new generation. So there's these two lenses. Now, in both these aspects, blessings are very important. When someone in their mind is stuck in the negativity and caught up, and which is very natural, right? Sometimes life just does throw too many big rocks at us, right? And then we need some help, we need some support. So that's a time to reach out for blessings from somebody who's a blesser, right? It gives you the peace of mind, it gives you the strength to move through the obstacle. Perhaps the obstacle or the challenge becomes smaller, but even if it doesn't, you grow bigger than the challenge, so you can move past it, can solve it, right? You come up with ideas, or you get support from others to solve the challenge. But if you're on the side of the perspective of looking at life as a set of opportunities, this world as an opportunity where you can contribute so much, then your skills, your capabilities, all that expands with the blessings that you get. And so to me, like I used to think only people who are stressed need the Art of Living course. But now I would firmly say that people who are stressed may need Art of Living course. People who are not stressed but who are able to contribute more in life to whatever they are trying to accomplish can benefit from this journey. And people who are not looking for any of these but who are looking for spiritual deepening, awakening, the who am I, and that beautiful, wondrous journey of the inner journey also can benefit from this, right? So I don't think blessings are limited to people in need anymore, like the way I used to think. I think what we can accomplish with blessings is so much more.
My goodness, I can't agree more. Absolutely, Raghuji. I mean, that sums it all for us. But then before we log off today, we would love to hear from you. And Usha ji very beautifully has already touched upon that. What's the biggest blessing for us as human beings on the planet today? Raghu, would you like to take on that?
Yeah, I will start out the same way Usha started. I would say being human, being born as a human is a blessing. Having this body is a blessing, right? If a mind is there with negativity and all the impressions, all the difficulties, and we don't have a body, then we cannot, like Gurudev says, we cannot move past these challenges. So this body, this physical world, this environment is a opportunity for us to move past our challenges, or faults, or weaknesses, or negativities, but also to explore new vistas, right? To accomplish new things and to rediscover who we are. So that's, I would say, is a huge blessing. Having a master on the path is a blessing, but staying with it and going deeper, just being able to become like a child again in the sense of being in wonder all the time, right? And with the guidance of somebody who is so compassionate, who's already there, who's so patient, is the greatest blessing. I would probably stop there.
Wow, and we can continue listening to you, Raghuji. It was so profound. Usha ji, please.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you for starting a blessing channel and spending your precious time as well to interview various people and asking such amazing questions. Just this whole interview has been so meditative, listening to your questions, you sharing between our answers and listening to Raghu. And I feel like, uh, when earlier I mentioned that in a state of surrender, and then the blessing comes, and there is a sense of relief from within. Finally, we are safe. Big burden lifted off you. Actually, you've come to that center, that divine space which we are all made up of. And when we start feeling that more often, and it doesn't have to be something so, it could be just a simple blessing or something magnificent. It brings you to a place of contentment. And like that mind which was running for the latest Tesla or the latest Google job or whatever, there's so many desires which the mind gets entangled with. So when we start recognizing that life is a blessing, small or big, then I'm rested, doesn't matter. The feeling of contentment comes. And then we ourselves are able to bless others from that space. I think this is that discovery from within, and this is truly the art of living, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Ushaji. Thank you so much. Being able to bless others from that space of contentment is a blessing. Yeah, wow, so profound. Yeah. Raghuji, would you like to share some final words? Anything that I have missed on you would like our audiences to hear when they get to hear this beautiful conversation?
Yeah. So, firstly, thank you for setting up this call and this interview. It's been a joy and a pleasure to share my journey, my experiences, and my perspectives, if you will. And like I said in the beginning of the call, I was looking forward to it because you hold the space so beautifully, Asti. So you hold it, and you are such a bundle of joy yourself. So
She's a gopi. She's such a
yeah,
vibrant devotee.
true.
Tell us about that word, Gopi. Now it extends the interview conversation.
You want to go, Kana?
Gopi has several meanings, but one of the most profound meanings is one who has control over her senses, and those senses, instead of going outward, is going within. So the one who is drinking the divine with her or his senses is a gopi.
Goodness, wow, that calls for another brand new conversation on Srimad Bhagavatam and the Gopi effect, right, Ushaji? Oh my goodness. I personally cannot thank you both enough for, for agreeing to come on this conversation. I had absolutely no idea what would unfold and how, an hour. I didn't realize it's already an hour, and I can go with this conversation on and on. We can have this for the whole night. So profound. It just felt like we're sitting in your living room, Ushaji, and then having this chit chat, right? It absolutely was no outside of the whole conversation. So thank you for bringing that presence that both of you are known for. Very palpable, such full of wisdom, insights, love, devotion, divinity, blessings, everything put together. So thank you very much. It's been my absolute pleasure having both of you in here and allowing me to have this conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Asti. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Lots of blessings to you.
Thank you so much. Yes, would love to have blessings. Thank you very much, Ushaji and Raghuji. All right.
Bye, Asti. Jai Guru.
Bye.
Thanks.